There's a lot taking place today. Declare of emergency by the president. What would that do? There's people in his party wanting him to declare emergency to get more power. What does this mean, and is this something that we should be happy about or not? We're going to discuss that. Also, we're going to talk about how they canceled the debate of the SAVE Act, the voter ID Act that 90% of Americans want. They said literally 90%, 85 to 90% of Americans that want, and then they canceled it. But they canceled because they didn't have enough time because they had to do a puppy dog Congress parade. No joke. John Thune canceled debate, and Tom Tillis, they hosted a doggy parade in wagons for all of Congress's dogs. That's crazy. We're going to discuss that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about a declaration that was just put out by Mike Huckabee in Israel. He says if it's non-essential, Americans should leave Israel today. Now, why? Why are we shelter in place? Why are we moving out? Are we actually seeing a maneuver into Iran that's going to kind of come back on Israel? I don't know. We'll see. But I thought that was very unique. He said it's nothing major, and but we need to do a shelter in place, and also if you're non-essential, please get out of Israel. We're going to discuss that. And the last story of the day, Zohar Mamdani host some kind of event, and even some of his police are now starting to chant Muslim prayers. What's happening? We're also going to discuss Texas, the bills that Republicans are passing for Muslims. It's not a good day, guys. We need to pay attention to these stories. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. By you coming back, it's such a humbling experience to know that you're watching us. We hope that you get something out of this video for sure, and our goal is to always be thought-provoking, try to gain some wisdom and common sense along the way. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about Trump's declaration of emergency to give him emergency powers. Now, he has not done this yet. They're stating now, I'm filming this video a few hours before it releases, so, by now it could, I don't know, but there's people in the pro-Trump party and activists and legal allies reportedly circulating a draft plan to aim to convincing President Trump to declare a national emergency to assert broad executive authority powers over elections. Now, I know this is one of those things where it's a slippery slope. In this case, because what we're supposed to talk to you about the stupid Congress, literally, how they're bringing their puppies and doggies in wagons to parade around in little, just unbelievable that we're paying these people any money and that they're robbing us blind. But I digress. This is stating that he can have broader powers to make sure things get done when it comes to elections and when it comes to things that he wants to get done. I'll be honest with you. No matter how conservative you say you are, Thomas Massie, Rand Paul, all those are, when your Congress is parading their puppies and debating over the stupidest things and grandstanding and absolutely not doing anything but causing more mischief and spending our money, then I actually like this. I like the fact that he's wanting to declare emergency for just broad power. I don't want a dictator. No one wants a dictator. But if we really want to fix the country, we've got to quit relying on Congress to do it, because all they're doing is making it harder for us to live. All the things that we're spending money on is the Congress. All the things that are appropriated and waste is the Congress. All the things that are not getting passed is the Congress. Let's go to the story before we talk more about this Trump emergency powers and what it would do. This is honestly happening right now. This is from Gunther Eagleman. It says, "Are you kidding me? The U.S. Senate just straight up canceled the debate on the SAVE Act. Our best shot at requiring real voter ID to make sure non-citizens cannot vote. But they stopped it because they were too busy holding a dog parade." Tom Tillis is yelling on the mic about all these dogs, and they're in these little kid wagons and these little red wagons, and basically they've decorated the dog, and the festivity is looking like Mardi Gras of some sort, or just a complete waste of time and money. And there is tons of people in the hallway. And the sad thing is, most of these people are probably paid by us. We probably pay most of the people. Go back and watch the video. It's unbelievable. But we can't get the Voter Registration Act that makes sure that people are legal citizens to pass, that 85 to 90% of Americans want, because your Congress wants to have a doggy parade for their over-costing dogs. pulling Fido around. I guess that's way more important than actually the integrity of our elections. This is why when I hear Thomas Massie or Rand Paul or some of these that are what we consider the conservatives, and I don't believe they are, I believe they're firebrands. I'm a true conservative, but I do realize that nothing's getting passed. I love how Rand Paul and Massie and some of these other ones, again, they're all saying, well, the Congress needs to act. We're the ones that declare war. We're the ones that do this. You know the only reason they want those powers, you know why that fight is always there, is because they get something out of it too. That's why. That's why they're all filthy rich. Every congressman is filthy rich. Every senator is filthy rich. Why? Because they care about you? No. Because their hands in the cookie jar. But we can't pass the Voter Act because we have to have this doggy parade. Now let's go back to the executive powers. So what they're stating is, if he declares this, it will allow him to make sure that he can protect elections, also do some of the things that he's been wanting to do that he had executive powers over, but to be honest with you, Congress has not codified. Also, it would assert a broad executive authority over several other facets of the executive branch. Now, they do not go into detail of what this is, but I'll be honest with you, just being completely honest. We've had other presidents do it, Republican and Democrat, and there's no reason that Trump is not doing it, especially when his Congress has not passed but about 30-something bills of his. When this time in every other administration for the last, other than Trump's, the last 25, 30 years, it's been about 100 to 150 laws passed by this time. And the sad thing is, this is what we consider a quote-unquote Trump party. It's unbelievable. I want to go to Mike Huckabee and what he just stated. It says, U.S. Ambassador Huckabee urged the embassy staff to leave Israel, not this week, not next week, not next month, today. He said today. It says, breaking. Ambassador Huckabee is advising all non-essential U.S. government employees in Israel to consider leaving the country. Not leaving the embassy, not leaving the area, leaving the country. It says, this move is just precautionary. The U.S. Embassy advises American citizens to consider leaving, getting out, booking the flights, and leaving as quick as possible today. There was actually a commentator that was supposed to go, and they canceled his trip to the embassy because of this. So it must be something pretty serious. They're either getting threats, or they know something's going to take place that they're going to provoke with Iran, and Iran may, come back on Israel. So we have to be paying attention to this, because this is anytime this happens, a spark could just ignite, and bam, we're in war. We're in war. It doesn't matter if it's a false flag or real flag. That still puts people in war. So let's pay attention to this story. It says that Huckabee said that his goal is to make sure that he keeps Americans safe while they're in Israel. And today, he's issuing this edict to please, embassy staff, leave Israel. The same people who want to harm us and harm Israel and harm America are the same people now we're allowing in our country. I want you to listen to these two stories. It says, Texas House Republicans have been busy passing tons of bills, but not for you as Americans. Listen to this. H.R. 34, passed on March 13th, 2025, recognizes holy month of Ramadan. H.R. 36, passed on March 13th, recognizes holiday Eid al-Fitr. H.R. 37, passed on April 21st, commits the Engage Texas Emerging Leaders Program, which is basically developed by CARE and Muslim Brotherhood. H.R. 32, passed on March 20th, recognizes Pakistani Day at the Texas Capitol. H.R. 1802, passed on February 5th, 2025, honors and memorializes Islamic figures. H.R. 408, passed on March 14th, honors Bangladeshi Day. H.R. 256, passed on March 6th, commemorates the 25th anniversary of Harmony Public Schools, which is tied to the Muslim order. Now, this is some of the ones they're working on still. This is happening right now. H.R. 641 introduces an Ismail Ali Day. H.C.R. 85 introduces designate for March 15th as Combat Islamophobia Day. H.B. 1044 introduces a grant to legal authority to imams to perform marriages. H.C.R. 18 introduced on March 5th a Muslim Heritage Month for May. H.R. 45 wants to recognize April 25th as Texas Muslim Capital Day. HB 667 introduced March 4th, 2025, wants to expand further halal meals, food options, in government-paid places. What's happening, Texas? I didn't see any of those. I mean, that's 10 to 15 bills. I'll be honest with you. I can't think of 10 to 15 bills that any government has given me that's actually benefited me. And that was a matter of, what, 6 months? What are we doing? Let's go to New York. It's not stopping, people. I'm telling you, this is happening. You better be ready. NYPD officers partake in the Muslim prayer before eating with Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Now, if you would have filmed, let's say, Mike Huckabee, or let's just say any Christian conservative Republican, filming him talking openly about Jesus, and he is with all the officers, you would have the left up in arms about separation of church and state, wouldn't you? You would have the freedom from religion groups that would be all crazy. But we're allowing this, and we're happy that this is happening. NYPD is standing around holding their hands out, praying to a false god. Guys, while we're worried about a shelter-in-place order and getting Americans out of Israel, worried about the Middle East is coming here, and we're just allowing it. Like in Las Vegas, they opened up a new Muslim store where it was going to provide so much more Muslim clothing for the western part of the United States. Are we needing that much? Are we getting to that point where we got to have hijabs now, and we have to make sure that we're wearing all this stuff that represents Muslims' holidays and Islamic faith? That's what's happening in America, people. Quit putting your head in the sand and thinking that it's all okay, even when you have an R behind their name in places like Texas. Texas, what are you doing? If you live in Texas, call your Congress and your Senate right now and say, I don't know what money you're getting on the table, but you've got to stop this. You've got to stop it. And the last story I'm going to bring up, and this is where, again, you're seeing how Republicans are just... It's depressing to me. It really is. It almost gets me to one where I'm just like, I'm done with all of it. Listen to this. Georgia Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, who is running for governor of Georgia, who supposedly calls himself a Trump supporter, like all these other Republicans, invited the first openly LGBT alphabet trans to serve as the chaplain for Georgia State Senate 3 days ago. Hired him. Lately, that's why we think that Rick Jackson is probably surging the polls, because ultimately these people are evil. Georgia is a very conservative Christian and largely devout state. Imagine how evangelicals feel when this agenda is pushed down their throat and is done by a GOP leader. They will stay home, and Georgia will fall, because you can't tell the difference in the R's and D's anymore. The Texas situation with all these new laws they're passing, you can't tell the difference in R and D anymore. You know, that's spiritual. Somebody can wear the name Christian. They can talk Christianese. They can do all that. But if they're not walking that, they're not representing it. Well, I think our Republicans are doing the same thing. They're talking about how much they like Trump, how much they want to do, how much they want to expose, how much they want to save the Americans money, but they're not doing any of it. Because we have a lot of people who talk but not walk it, we're going to see the fall of our empire. Or it's going to be taken over or conquered. That's why I like these Trump emergency powers. Love him or hate him, he has tried to make America truly great again, I think. Now, should he be focused on the Middle East? Probably not. I wouldn't. But no president really has in the last 50 years. I mean, name one. Most of them's all been worried about everybody else. So I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying at least, the synthetic dyes are getting out of food. At least we got lower taxes this year. No overtime tax and no tax on tips. Look, I own a business and I got a notification from the QuickBooks company that I use saying that no tax on overtime or tips. So it gave people more money in their account. They have less tax burden this year. Those are good things. Tax accounts are great things. The Trump accounts where they're given to the kids, great things. But I'm telling you, people, if we don't start getting better leaders, and they're worried more about a puppy parade and making sure they're taking care of people who we're trying to take over in the Middle East, but they're basically taking over here, what a topsy-turvy world we're living in. If we're not careful, it's over. It really is. We're seeing the end of our empire. Pay attention. Prepare. Get the things you need, because this is fixing to go down. Because we can't just be sitting on this ticking time bomb and just hoping that it's never going to go off. It will go off one day. Why do you think gold is skyrocketing? Why do you think these signs of war are here? Why do you think our dollar is struggling? Why do you think AI is moving so rampant? Why is jobs being lost? All this is just one little spark away from going kablooey. Let me know your thoughts. God bless.
Be free, be free, be free.